Proportions. A proportion is two ratios set equal to one another. Proportions are solved by using cross products or cross multiplication. If A over B is equal to C over D, then A times D equals B times C. AD equals BC is called the cross product of the proportion A over B is equal to C over D. So all we're dealing with is a proportion is just two equal fractions. So 1/2 is equal to 5/10. That's a proportion. To check this, we cross multiply. We take 1 times 10, which is 10. Is that equal to 2 times 5, which is 10? Yes. So all we're doing, a proportion is just equivalent fractions. So we can solve proportions with variables by using the cross products. Here's the example. H divided by 9 is equal to 2/3. So to solve for H, all we need to do is cross multiply. 3 times H is 3H. Is that equal to 2 times 9, which is 18? So 3H equals 18. So all we need to do is divide by 3, and H equals 6. So if we wanted to check that, we can substitute 6 back in the original. 6/9 is indeed equal to 2/3. So let's solve these three examples using cross products. So 4/5 is equal to T over 55. So we're going to cross multiply. We're going to take 4 times 55. Four times 55 is 220. And is equal to, cross multiply again, 5T. So now we're going to divide each side by 5. And T is going to equal 220 divided by 5. Which is 44. Example 2, 22 divided by D is equal to 6 over 21. So we're going to cross multiply. 22 times 21 is 462. And that's equal to, cross multiply again, 6 times D is 6D. So 462 equals 16. Now we divide each side by 6. And that gives us 77. Example 3, 2/7 equals 4 over y. So we're going to start by cross multiplying. 2 times y is 2y, and that's equal to 7 times 4, which is 28. And divide each side by 2, and y equals 14. So that's how you solve proportions with a variable. Two ratios form a proportion if their cross products are equal. How can we tell if two ratios form a proportion? Let's look at 6/9 and 4/6 to help explain. So the way we can tell that two ratios form a proportion is that we check their cross products are equal. So when we cross multiply, we should get the same answer. So let's go ahead and check 6/9 and 4/6. 6/9, is that equal to 4/6? So when we cross multiply, we take 6 times 6 and we get 36. And 9 times 4 is 36. So this is a proportion because their cross products are equal. Now we're going to decide if the following ratios form a proportion. First, set up a proportion. Remember, a proportion is an equation, so you have to have an equal sign. So here I have 15 20s and 5 7s. I'm going to set them up as a proportion, so I'm going to have them equal to each other. So now I'm going to cross multiply. 15 times 7 is 105. And 20 times 5 I know is 100. So 105 is not equal to 100. So this is not a proportion. They're not equivalent fractions or ratios. Not a portion. How about proportion? Okay, let's go ahead and try the next one. 7 12ths is 7 12ths equal to 17 15ths. 17 and a half over 30. $210 is equal to 210. So yes, it's a proportion. Three fifths and 21 35ths. 3/5 is equal to 21 35ths. Okay. 3 times 35. And 5 times 21. So 105 is equal to 105. So this is an example of a proportion. Two equivalent ratios, two equivalent fractions. All right, let's do some applications. The ratio of students to parents at a play was 5 to 6. There were 150 parents at the play. How many students were at the play? So we're comparing students to parents. So the first thing you want to do is maybe highlight information that goes together. We know there were students, there were 5, and then we're going to figure out how many. So that's going to be our variable x. Parents, we know there were 6 and then 150. So go ahead and we're going to set up our proportion now. We're comparing students to parents. So I always like to write the words first, students to parents. And then I know how to set up my proportion. I just go ahead and draw my little lines and my equal signs. Now I just need to fill in the numbers. So students to parents, or 5 to 6, is equal to x over 150. And then to solve for x, I cross multiply. So there were 125 students at the play. Number 2, last week Mary drove her car 440 miles and used 20 gallons of gasoline. At the same rate, how many miles could she drive her car using 35 gallons of gasoline? So we're comparing miles to gallons of gasoline. So go ahead and set up the proportion for that and solve. So I first highlighted my information, and I'm comparing miles to gallons, and my proportion was 440 over 20 is equal to x over 35. I cross-multiplied and solved and determined that she could drive 770 miles. Number 3, the cost of 3 oranges is $1.68. What is the cost of 7 oranges? So go ahead and set up your proportion and solve. So I compared oranges to the cost. So 3 to 168 is equal to 7 over x. I cross-multiplied and found x, or the cost of 7 oranges, to be $3.92.